Beneath the surface of our oceans lies a threshold, a boundary where sunlight surrenders to darkness, where the familiar rules of life begin to dissolve. Descend past the sunlight zone, past the twilight, into the midnight realm where pressure becomes crushing and oxygen itself becomes scarce. Here, at depths approaching 3,000 feet, exists a layer of water so depleted of oxygen that it suffocates nearly everything that enters. The oxygen minimum zone. It is a place where survival seems impossible. And yet, in 2002, researchers exploring these depths with a remotely operated vehicle encountered something extraordinary. A creature hovering motionless in the black. Dark red, almost invisible, about the size of a football, but it was the eyes that captured their attention. Massive, globular, glowing blue in the vehicle's lights, eyes the size of a large dog's on an animal no bigger than a human forearm. The creature did not flee. It watched. Then it did something no one expected. 8 arms spread outward, revealing webbing between them like a vampire's cape. The inner surface bristled with fleshy spines. The entire animal inverted, turned itself inside out. And then it began to glow. Not just one point of light. Dozens, hundreds of bioluminescent organs erupting across its body in disorienting patterns. From the tips of its arms came a cloud, sticky, luminescent, spreading through the water like glowing smoke. The scientists who first discovered it in 1903 had one thought: this looks like something out of a nightmare, so they named it what it was. Vampiroteuthis infernalis, vampire squid from hell, and almost everything about it defies explanation. The vampire squid is not a squid. It is also not an octopus. It exists in its own taxonomic order, Vampiromorphida, as the only living member, a phylogenetic relict, an evolutionary ghost, the last survivor of an ancient lineage that has remained essentially unchanged for over 300 million years. Since before the dinosaurs walked the earth, this animal has been perfecting the art of living in a realm that should not support complex life. The oxygen minimum zone, between 2,000 and 3,000 feet down, in a band of water circling the tropics, oxygen levels plummet to just 3% of surface concentrations. For context, humans lose consciousness at 10% oxygen. We die at 6%. The vampire squid thrives at 3%. It is the only cephalopod on Earth capable of spending its entire life cycle in this suffocating zone. Octopuses cannot do it. Squids cannot do it. Even most deep-sea fish avoid it. But the vampire squid does not merely survive these conditions. It uses them as a fortress. Predators require oxygen, substantial amounts of it, to hunt, to chase, to kill. All of it demands energy, and energy demands oxygen. In the oxygen minimum zone, there are no apex predators because they cannot breathe there. So how does the vampire squid manage what nothing else can? The answer lies in a series of extraordinary adaptations. Its blood is blue. Not metaphorically, actually blue, colored by hemocyanin, a copper-based molecule that binds and transports oxygen with greater efficiency than the hemocyanin of any other cephalopod. Its gills possess the largest surface area relative to body mass of any deep-sea cephalopod, and its metabolism is the lowest ever measured in any cephalopod. It barely moves, barely hunts, drifting through the darkness like a specter, consuming almost no energy. Its gelatinous body requires virtually no muscular effort to maintain position. The vampire squid does not swim through its world. It hangs suspended within it, motionless, watching, and those eyes serve a very specific purpose. Proportionally, the vampire squid possesses the largest eyes of any animal on Earth, Guinness World Records confirms it. A 1-foot creature with eyes an inch in diameter. If humans had eyes of equivalent proportion, they would be the size of dinner plates. But why such massive eyes in total darkness? Because the darkness is not total. Down in the oxygen minimum zone, many creatures produce their own light, bioluminescence. Brief flashes of blue-green against the endless black. A dying fish. A hunting predator. A potential mate. The vampire squid's enormous eyes can detect the faintest bioluminescent glow from hundreds of feet away. In a world without sunlight, bioluminescence becomes vision itself. And the vampire squid can see farther than almost anything else inhabiting these depths, which proves useful because it is watching for something very specific, something falling from above. Marine snow. That is what scientists call the constant drift of organic particles descending from the sunlit surface down into the abyss. Dead plankton, fecal pellets, molted shells, mucus from jellies, fragments of decay, detritus, debris, the ocean's waste, drifting endlessly downward. Most predators ignore it. They hunt living prey, active prey with nutrients worth the energy expenditure of pursuit. The vampire squid does precisely the opposite. It is the only cephalopod on Earth that does not hunt living prey. It eats the dead, the discarded, the waste. From its body extend 2 thin filaments, sensory tentacles that can stretch to twice the animal's body length. They are lined with hair-like structures covered in sensory cells. These filaments drift passively in the current, feeling, waiting. When marine snow touches a filament, the vampire squid reels it in slowly, like a fisherman retrieving a line. It coats the detritus in mucus, forming it into a small ball. Then, using its arms, it passes the ball to its mouth, where ivory-white beaks consume it methodically. It is eating garbage, feces, rotting tissue. But there is brilliance in this strategy. Marine snow is infinite. Predators come and go. Prey populations crash and recover. But waste never stops falling. The vampire squid has claimed the one food source in the deep ocean that is guaranteed, eternal, inexhaustible. By becoming the deep sea's waste processor, it eliminated all competition. But living on such a limited energy budget created a different problem. How to defend oneself when there is barely enough energy to move. The vampire squid has no ink sac, no ability to change color. In the eternal dark, changing color serves no purpose. So evolution provided something far more effective: light. The vampire squid's body is covered in photophores, light-producing organs. Dozens of them, concentrated at the tips of its arms and the base of its fins. It can modulate their intensity, their size, their duration, creating patterns of light that flash from fractions of a second to several minutes. When threatened, it initiates a defensive sequence that appears almost magical. First, it inverts, drawing its webbed arms up and over its body, turning itself inside out into what scientists call the pumpkin posture. The fleshy spines on its arms point outward. The glowing arm tips cluster together far above the animal's actual body, diverting attention away from vital organs. To a predator, it appears larger, more threatening. The glowing points make it impossible to identify where the squid actually is among the disorienting lights. But if that defensive display proves insufficient, the vampire squid releases something stranger still. A thick, sticky cloud of bioluminescent mucus expelled from the tips of its arms. The cloud contains innumerable orbs of blue light suspended in a viscous matrix. The cloud does not dissipate quickly. It hangs in the water, glowing for up to 10 minutes, and it adheres to whatever touches it. Scientists call this the burglar alarm effect. The predator, now coated in glowing mucus, becomes visible to everything else lurking in the darkness. A beacon, a potential target for larger secondary predators, while the vampire squid, dark and nearly motionless, vanishes into the black. The predator hunting it has become prey. It is biological warfare, turning attackers into bait. For decades, scientists could not confirm what the vampire squid consumed, could not study its behavior in detail. It lives too deep for traditional capture methods. Then, in 2012, the Monterey Bay Aquarium succeeded in keeping several specimens alive. Not for long, but long enough. Long enough to observe them feeding, to confirm the detritus hypothesis, marine snow, dead tissue, exactly as suspected. But the aquarium discovered something else, something unexpected. The vampire squid's reproductive strategy is unique among all cephalopods. Most cephalopods spawn once and die, a single breeding cycle, one clutch of eggs, then death. Octopuses die guarding their eggs. Squids die shortly after mating. It is the cephalopod's burden, intelligence, and complexity purchased with short, brutal lives. The vampire squid breeds repeatedly, 20 times or more across a lifespan that may reach 10 years. It is the only cephalopod that escapes the death sentence of reproduction. Why? How? The answer returns to metabolism. By living in what amounts to slow motion, the vampire squid conserves sufficient energy to survive reproduction. It has traded an active life for a long one, but even that long life is growing shorter. Climate change is rewriting the chemistry of the deep ocean. Oxygen minimum zones are expanding, deepening, intensifying. As surface waters warm, oxygen solubility decreases. As ocean currents slow due to changing thermal gradients, oxygen circulation declines. The dead zones are growing. For most marine life, this represents catastrophic habitat loss. For the vampire squid, it should represent expansion, more territory, more zones where predators cannot follow. Except the zones are growing too rapidly, too unpredictably. The vampire squid evolved for stable hypoxia, predictable oxygen gradients. Now those zones shift, fluctuate, appear in new locations while vanishing from historical ranges. And vampire squids cannot migrate long distances. Their metabolism is too slow. Populations are becoming isolated, cut off from potential breeding partners. There is another threat as well: microplastics. Marine snow is no longer purely organic matter. It is contaminated. Plastic fragments, synthetic fibers, chemical-laden particles that never existed when the vampire squid evolved. Specimens collected from the southwestern Atlantic contain microplastics in their digestive systems, in their tissues. The creature that has survived for 300 million years by consuming the ocean's waste is now being poisoned by waste. It never evolved to process. The vampire squid from hell is facing a hell of human creation. Nothing about the vampire squid should function. It lives where oxygen is nearly absent. It consumes what nothing else will touch. It defends itself with light in eternal darkness. It possesses eyes proportionally larger than any animal on Earth, blue blood that defies conventional biology, a metabolism so reduced it barely qualifies as living. It is neither squid nor octopus, a ghost from the Paleozoic, still drifting through an ocean that evolved and moved forward without it, and yet, impossibly, it persists. For 300 million years, the vampire squid has perfected a survival strategy founded on a single principle: find a place so hostile that nothing else desires it. Claim it as sanctuary. The oxygen minimum zone became its evolutionary moat, its refuge from competition and predation. But we are filling that moat with plastic, heating the water, disrupting the currents that maintain the precise chemistry it requires. We are discovering ways to make even the most extreme environments uninhabitable. Somewhere, right now, a mile beneath the surface, a vampire squid hangs motionless in the dark, its massive eyes scanning for the faint glow of falling detritus, its filaments drifting like fishing lines through the current. It does not comprehend what is changing, cannot understand that its fortress is failing. It knows only what it has always known. Wait, watch, survive, because nothing about the squid that lives in eternal darkness is normal. And losing it would mean losing something that required evolution hundreds of millions of years to create. Something that exists nowhere else, in conditions nothing else can tolerate. Something extraordinary,